Hi, welcome back to OD YouTube channel. Today we are opening another window of the Diamine Inkvent Calendar Black Edition for 2024, and today it's the 8th of December, and it is a holiday here in Portugal. So let's see what we have here. And it is called Marley. Let's take this out, and maybe it's a gray ink or a bluish gray. I hope it's not gray because I don't love gray inks, but we'll see. And it is a standard ink, so there will be no shimmer or anything on the back. So we will see what we can get from this ink, and we will see that next to this part. So I'll be right back with further information. Stay there. Now let's see this ink and how it will behave. 1, 2, 3 droplets of ink. The last one was quite generous. Let's cap the bottle as usual, and let's see how this apparently gray ink will behave. I guess I already said it, I'm not really a fan of gray inks, but we'll see when we have this kind of challenge of making having a calendar and trying old inks. Of course we'll have inks that we like and inks we don't like that much. It seems to be able to have lots of shading, and the shading I think can go from gray to light purple, but there's only one way to see is when this is dry. You can see there, compared with others, much less bleed through, and it could always be some bleed through because this is a lot of ink that I put on paper. Let me just have this a little bit more distributed, like that. And so I'll be right back when this is dry, and I'll show you how it compares with other swatches. So here is the swatch, and we can see it is an interesting ink in kind of, I would say, a gray with violet color, but you can see there's a component of green, of kind of blue ink that is here at the bottom. So it is an interesting ink. It's very plain, and I think it's quite usable. And if it would be only a simple gray, I don't think I'd like, but because it has a very strong purplish tone to, it's not strong purple, but has a strong purplish tone to the gray, I think I kind of like it. Let's take a look at how it looks with some other inks. I don't have many that will go into this kind of collection. I have here the Great Fountain Deep Purple, which is kind of very light brown ink with purple, but it has a different shade. I have here the Caveco Smoky Gray, because I think it is interesting to compare with the gray. This is definitely not gray, but when you look at it alone, it looks like gray with purple. And we have the ink that I think it's kind of similar in the way it is built, because it also has some shading in it, is the Ash from the ink number 3 from Inkvent Calendar 2021. So you can see it is the same kind of ink, but with a different tone. This is really a kind of a gray with a little bit greenish brown. This is, I would say, a gray with some violet or purple in it. So I think this is an interesting color. I enjoy it. When we compare this ink with its chromatography, we can see a few things here. The ink is not water resistant because the baseline completely disappeared, but it doesn't really wash away that completely, but it separates in various tones. So the pink is more permanent, and there is green, and then there is blue. It all washes away, so we can predict that there will be some kind of a stain, pink purplish stain on paper. But this is quite this is quite understandable from what it's here. Also the blue, the green, I don't really know how, but maybe the green and this pinkish or red will make that kind of brownish gray, and then the blue makes it on the purple side. I'm not really sure about these color things. It's just a way that I try to explain. Maybe it's not correct at all, but it's fun to see. Now, before we go to the papers I used, let's look at the pens I used to write to test this ink with. So I chose 2 pens as usual. So we'll have lots of inked pens by the end, at the end of the month. It's crazy to manage all this. So one of the pens that I have here is a pen that I considered it for a very long time a Grail pen. The history behind it's not that special. I went to a job interview many years ago, and I saw someone playing with this pen, and I thought, oh, that pen is amazing, what is that? And I researched it, and I didn't know a retractable fountain pen existed, and I discovered it was a Pilot Fermo pen. This is the green version. It's not available anywhere that I can find, and so, but it was a pen that I really wanted to have. And one time my favorite YouTuber, Wasky Squirrel, I'm not sure if you can see this is green, but it is. My favorite pen YouTuber, Wasky Squirrel, had this pen that he wanted to trade, so I sent him 2 pens, one Lamy 26 or 25, 26p or 25p, I'm not sure, and also a Senator with a hooded nib that had a flex nib. It was a strange thing. I sent him those 2 pens, and he sent me this one, and I'm really happy for having it. It is a pen that doesn't work for everyone because you have to rotate this part, but I like it, and I will soon make a review of it. I never made it, and I'll do it, and I will explain why I like it. So it is a regular, the inside is a regular Pilot capless nib unit. It is a cartridge converter pen, and that's it. This one has a fine nib, fine gold nib. I'm not sure, no, you cannot see the F there, but it is on the nib unit further down inside the pen. So a Pilot Fermo green, and I also brought this pen, also a fine nib, but it's completely different. This is a Pelikan M805 demonstrator, so it's completely clear except for the metal parts, of course. It is a very interesting pen. I really like it. There is already some ink inside the cap because I'm never careful enough, so after that I'll need to clean it. That's something that you get with demonstrator pens. It has a beautiful fine nib, but I thought I could have 2 fine nibbed pens, gold nib, 2 fine nibbed pens to make this ink review, because Pilot Fine and Pelikan Fine are 2 completely different animals. So these were the 2 pens that I chose. So let's take a look at the papers. We have here the Moleskine paper. You can see there is a complete complete perfect difference between the line with the Pelican and the line with the Pilot. We can see that it looks like a light gray with the light greenish gray with the Pilot and a darker purplish gray with the Pelican. That's kind of nice. You can see two different kinds of ink with the same with two kinds of look from the same ink with two different pens. I would say that the Pelican is the version that matches the best the swatch. And so we have some bleed through on the Pelican and also some feathering with the Pelican, because the Pelican puts down a lot of ink. With the Pilot it behaves well, even in this paper, which is not that good. When we go to the optic paper from Oxford, you can see the shading of the ink. You can even see some shading with the Pilot, which is very thin line, and with the Pelican you can see some shading, but the ink looks much darker, so it's not that visible, the shading, but it has. So you can compare the writing with those. Here it looks really more kind of purple, here also. Here it just looks gray. And there is some, because the Pelican puts down so much ink, some places with the Pelican there is the bleed through. And when we go to the copy paper, as usual, the behavior is more similar with the behavior we can see on the Moleskine, but the paper is worse for fountain pen use, and then there is a lot of bleed through. However, there is not that much of feathering, but not really feathering, but you can see that the lines, the edges of the letters are not sharp, and they are kind of soft, I would say. And when you look at the Oxford optic paper, you can see the lines are more sharp. And now let's finally see how it behaves on Rhodia paper. You already saw here, this is the swatch, and Rhodia paper is usually a lot like Oxford paper. And so what we have here is these kind of swirls, just to be sure to check how it is water resistant or not. And you can see it is not water resistant at all. The line completely disappears, and if the water goes over a little other piece of writing and is not then cleaned, you can see that that reddish pinkish tone remains. Whoops, where is that? There. But it actually is all removable. When we are talking about drying time, we take from 10 to 15 seconds to have it completely dry with the Pilot Fine Nib, which is kind of fine. And so this is what I had to show you today. Let's just write here. So the quick, sorry, my fault, I rotated the pen. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. So it writes well, has a good flow. It looks like a wet ink, and it's nice, because if it would be a dry ink with this kind of grayish tone, I don't think I would like it. And now with the Pelican, the quick, you can see much more ink being put on paper. Fox jumps over the lazy dog. You can see there is shading, there is lots of ink on paper, and of course it will take a little bit longer to dry with such a wet pen. So thank you, Appelboom, for sending me this calendar for this series of videos. Thank you all for watching. I hope you are enjoying this series of videos and you are opening the the little daily windows of the Inkvent calendar, and we will meet again tomorrow for another ink review and my birthday also. So, bye.